there are a ton of opportunities out there, given the fact that the internet is everywhere, for you to find someone who enjoys the thing that you don't like, who is better at it than you are, and who actually doesn't even have to come on as a W-2 employee. Somebody that you could contract with, and actually it makes that relationship and the cost of doing that more accessible for you, because you don't have to hire them full time. You get fractional access. Welcome to Your Business is Not Your Boss. I am your host, Geoff Welch, and I help small business owners overcome overwhelm and replace overthinking with intentional action. What is up? Welcome to episode 37 of Your Business is Not Your Boss. I am your host and small business coach, Geoff Welch, and today we are going to be talking about changing your relationship with some of the things that you hate in your small business. Yeah. But before we get into that, if there are some things that are frustrating you in your small business, if perhaps you feel a little stuck, maybe a little overwhelmed, a little bit like there are too many things that are on your plate, too many things coming at you, or things that you just, man, I wish I didn't have to handle this. I can't get to the stuff that I really need to be working on or that I really care about, because this stuff is in front of me. I would encourage you to go grab my anti-overwhelm playbook today. It is at geoffwelch.com/playbook, and it is going to help you take real practical steps today to help you change your relationship with that overwhelm, to help you maybe get yourself a little bit unstuck, and to, again, just change your relationship with your business to help make it work for you instead of the other way around, which a lot of us experience, right? So I want to dive into the episode, but before I do that, I've got to offer this up here, okay? I'm a person just like you. So I'd like to think that I come with lots of experience, lots of insights, the ability to point you in a direction, the ability to help you see some of things differently. But that doesn't mean I don't have issues as well. And one of the issues I have had today is technology has been kind of a jerk today. I have a monitor here in my studio, and I have the same monitor over in my house, and I kind of work in both places, just depending on what it's like. It happens to be, when I'm recording this, it happens to be a very beautiful day in Fairbanks, Alaska, and so I don't really want to spend the entire day in this enclosed space. When it's winter and it's dark for 18, 20 hours a day, this space is fantastic to just stay in all the time, but when it's sunny outside, I want to be somewhere where there's some windows. So anyway, I've got this monitor out here. I've got a monitor in the house that is the same one, and the one in the house just won't work today. And I had this moment of, I'm kind of a technology nerd. That probably isn't super surprising. I like technology, and but sometimes it vexes you, right? Sometimes that it wants to punch you in the face. And so there's a part of me that just wants to be like, I'm going to overcome this problem. I'm going to solve this problem. And about 15 minutes in, which that's kind of a record for me, only spending 15 minutes, that's noteworthy. I said, there's nothing about working just on my MacBook without the larger monitor, nothing that I cannot do this morning. This monitor problem is not preventing me from doing any of the work that I need to do. Maybe I need to just move on. I can work on this problem at another time, or what we're going to talk about today is maybe finding an alternative solution to me having to work on it at all. But I just want to throw that out there because I think for small business owners, a show must go on mentality is really important. And some days I'm better at that than others. Today I won. Today I didn't spend as much time as I could have. There certainly have been days when 2 hours in, I've said to myself, I think I'm working on the wrong problem today. I think that I've spent my time in an arena that wasn't the most useful. And, worst case scenario, I guess I drag this monitor inside. Worst case scenario, I work off an iMac. I don't know. There are lots of alternatives, and stifling the work, not getting the right stuff done because of something like that's slapping you around, punch you in the face a little bit. Anyway, that's been my morning. So, but in spite of that, I wrote an essay today, and I am here recording this episode for you because that is what I'm here to do today. So, let's talk about what you hate. Well, let's not talk about it specifically, but when I start with a new client, I ask them many questions. Like, we're trying to get to know one another. There obviously is this, onboarding is kind of the technical word for it, but really you're developing a relationship with another person. You are getting to know one another. I'm getting to learn more about their problems, obstacles, opportunities, all those kind of things, and they're getting to know about me to some degree, because we have to have a certain amount of rapport and trust for them to be able to say, actually, here's the thing that's really difficult for me. And so one of the questions that I often ask is, what do you love about your business? And in many cases, it is met with a bit of hemming and hawing. You know it's in there somewhere, but they can't quite put their finger on what that thing is, right? Like, how do I put into words what I love about my business? And well, this is stilted a little bit because rarely do people come to me saying, I really need your help because everything is working too well, right? Usually people come to me because there is some problem, right? They're stuck in some way. They're overwhelmed. They're trying to figure out how to delegate more effectively, how to get things documented so they can get things off of their plate. They're stuck. So I understand that what they love about their business may not be, at the top of their thinking. But when I say, what do you hate about your business? Or what drives you crazy? Or what do you wish you didn't have to do, right? That kind of question. Instantaneous. They know. Instantaneous. Again, I understand it's skewed to some degree because of the nature of our engagement, right? But they know that with complete clarity. At least they know the arena very clearly, right? We may need to clarify, well, I think it's actually this. But they know the thing that's vexing them. And I think it's fascinating because this focus on the thing we don't like, I think, has a sinister impact that may not be entirely obvious. And you may think I'm going one direction, but I'm going a different way. You may think that I'm about to say, well, the thing that you focus on, you get more of what you look for, which I firmly believe, right? The more that you are focused and paying attention to a certain kind of input, the more you're going to notice it. So this is not a podcast about how by focusing on the thing you hate, it just makes you see it more often and drives you even crazier. This is an episode about how the thing that frustrates us, our fixation with it, lends to the belief that it must be universally detestable. The thing I don't like must be something that is just terrible. It's not just terrible to me, it's just terrible. And if it's just terrible, then someone has to endure it. Someone has to fight the good fight and persevere. And that is almost always the business owner, right? That's your job, to do the thing no one else could ever want to do. The thing that I want you to consider, though, as an alternative to I don't like it, it must be bad, is I don't like it, but what if someone else does? In fact, what if someone else loves it? So I talked to you about my technology problem, right? In fact, what you probably don't know is that moments ago, there was a little cut here. Moments ago, this system out here just stopped doing what it's supposed to be doing, and I had to reset some stuff. Not ideal. And some people hate technology. They're just like, I don't care about how it works. I just need it to work. None of it is interesting to me. It doesn't matter. I just need it to do its job. I'm like this, dials and knobs nerd who loves this stuff. And the two of us might get along pretty well, right? I can make some of those problems go away for you. Although today, maybe I'm proving otherwise. So there is likely someone who looks at the thing that you detest, the thing you hate, the thing that you think might be universally the worst. And they're like, oh, I love that. That's kind of my favorite, right? And it's funny, it makes me laugh, but I run into it over and over again. I have tried to protect people on my team, or I have held things close to my vest because I was convinced this is my burden. And I have to deal with this because I'm the owner and no one else would want to. And then you talk in some passing conversation, you share it with someone on your team and they're like, oh, that sounds like fun, or that's fascinating. I would love to do that. And you realize there's somebody that could have been helping you all along. Or at the very least, you realize there are resources available that might be able to take some of these things off your plate, right? So instead of this do or die, like I look at these problems, I look at these things that I don't like about my business, and those could range from, let's just rattle off a few, right? Managing people, that one's a bigger one, but I run into owners all the time who are like, I want to build this thing, I want to do this thing, I don't want to manage people. It drives me crazy to have to navigate employee issues. Okay, there's solutions to that. Keeping the books, designing flyers, posting on social media, dealing with technology. There are like 1,000 other things. But these things that what you realize after you start your business, you realize after you get into it, that the stuff that you wanted to do is a tiny fraction of what it takes to run a business. And there are all these other functions that need to be handled and managed and executed. And as the owner, a lot of them fall to you, especially in the beginning, right? In the early days, you kind of have to do a lot of those things. But as your business matures, as you are looking at how do I move beyond making this business work, period, like how do I make it happen, to this stage of maturity where you're like, okay, the business works, it's proven itself. How now do I make it work for me instead of me getting sucked into the cycle of just working for the business? I live to feed the beast, right? Well, the business should be creating something for you. And there are lots of different ways to define that, but there should be this element of owning a business there should be this owning a business should afford you the ability to say, I'm getting all of these things that I want from this, as opposed to just having to put into it. So instead of approaching the things we don't like to do, the things we don't want to have to do, as these necessary evils, things that we must do, what if we approach them as things that we need to find creative solutions for? I'm not saying you can alleviate yourself of everything you don't like, everything you don't want to have to do in your business tomorrow afternoon, right? There are resource concerns and there are, access concerns, all these things you've got to deal with. But the first and I think most important step, and what we're talking about here, is giving up the mindset that says, I don't like it, but I have to do it, and trading it for, I don't like it, but maybe I could find someone else who does. I don't like it, but maybe there's a way that I don't have to. Okay? I did the books in my business for years, and kind of like the technology thing, like the accounting side of things, those are like traps for me. I should probably do another episode about not doing the things you love to do in some cases, right? There are things you might like to do that might not be the best things for you to do. You've got to find the really sweet spot, narrow it down to the most valuable things that you love. But that's not today. But I can waste a good deal of time on things that I enjoy doing and are necessary. They're important. They're not, completely wasteful, but might not be the best place for me to put my time. And for years, I did all the bookkeeping in my business. We had an accountant that handled the taxes and all that good stuff. I mean, I did payroll every 2 weeks. I did all of that stuff. And in the beginning, I needed to. In the beginning, I needed to understand the financials. I needed to understand how all of it worked so that I could be informed and really understand my business. In the beginning, it was important, but I went on doing it for far too long. Being on vacation, and if your vacation crossed the middle or the end of the month, having to figure out how to get payroll done from wherever you were because I was it, right? I was the only person who knew how to do it. Not ideal. So I did that for years, and eventually I decided that I was going to explore what it might look like to have somebody else handle that. On the surface, it seemed like, well, it's only, 30 minutes a week or whatever. It's going to be as much work to hand this off to somebody else and to, put this into someone else's purview than it is for me to just do it myself. And certainly, delegating something like bookkeeping is not I gave up 100% of it, right? I still have to submit receipts and I still have to, notate categories for things for a while at least. Eventually your bookkeeper figures out where certain things go. But there is some of that, right? Like I can't just say, I don't want to do this anymore and I give up 100% of it. But if I can give up 85 or 90% of it, and really for me at this point, it's 95, 97% of it, that I don't have to deal with anymore. That's kind of a victory. There still is, I've got to manage my, my general manager at the store, but she manages the rest of the stuff. So that's a win. So I called around and I found a place that would do it and would pair me with somebody, and they had systems in place that would help us to basically, they had tools and resources they used that made it easier for us to work with them. And there are things that I wasn't privy to that I didn't know about. And exploring that was a real eye-opening moment. It was one of those things where 6 months later, you're kicking yourself saying, I should have done this 6 years ago, not 6 months ago. And to me, that is a prime example of one, while I actually enjoyed that thing, many people hate it. Many people hate having to navigate. Just give me the reports. I don't want to have to enter the stuff. I don't want to have to track this. Like, I just want the financials. Give me the reports. They hate the rest of it, right? But someone else, that's their favorite thing to do. And like talking to my bookkeeper, it's like the funniest thing in the world when we have an exchange. Like, she knows stuff that I don't know. I did it for a really long time, but I'm still not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. She's asking me questions and I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually a really good idea. We should have done that. So there's somebody else who knows more about it and who is more interested in it than you are. And there are lots of ways to engage that. I think for a small business owner, the first thing we think of is, to get something off my plate, I'm going to have to hire somebody, meaning like bring on a W-2 employee. And right now it's hard to find people in some cases, and it's expensive, and you got taxes, like all this stuff that goes into bringing on a W-2 employee. Well, I didn't do that for bookkeeping, and I didn't do that for my assistant. And I've discovered along the way, there's lots of other situations where I don't have to do that either, where there is a contractor. There is somebody out there who does privately the thing that you need done. And if you are willing to say, could I modify the thing that I expect, the thing that I demand a little bit to engage someone external to my business? For example, another example. I did a lot of the design work inside the business for years and years and years because I like that kind of stuff. It's interesting to me, but it's time consuming because I am an amateur. It is something that takes me far longer than it would take an expert, and it's never going to look as good, right? But I have very specific ideas, and it took a little bit, but we found somebody that we work with who is able to take what we've done in the past and effectively mimic it with a little bit of extra juice, right? Like they're able to take the style that I want and that I like and the standard that I have, and they're able to add enough of their own zhuzh to it. I don't know. Is that the thing? To make it better than it could have been if I had ever done it, but still capture my expectations, right? Now, there are moments when I have to let go of some of that, and I have to say, I would do X, Y, and Z to perfect this thing. And perfect, obviously, being a completely, that's just my own preference, right? It's not actually objective, completely subjective. But I have to say, you know what? It is good enough for, and I didn't have to touch it. It is good enough for rock and roll. We're going to let that go. That's going to be just fine for anyone else. No one is going to pay attention to it the way I pay attention to it. And the only way to get it exactly the way I want is for me to get elbows deep in it, and I can't be there anymore. So there are a ton of opportunities out there, given the fact that the internet is everywhere, for you to find someone who enjoys the thing that you don't like, who is better at it than you are, and who actually doesn't even have to come on as a W-2 employee. Somebody that you could contract with, and actually it makes that relationship and the cost of doing that more accessible for you, because you don't have to hire them full time. You get fractional access. My bookkeeper, fractional. She's not available to me 24 hours. Like, obviously none of my employees are available 24 hours a day, but she doesn't work for me 40 hours a week. She works for me enough hours to get what we need done. My assistant doesn't work 40 hours a week for me. She works a smaller subset, so that I have access to the things that I need, but I don't have to pay someone for 40 hours a week when I don't have 40 hours worth of work for them, right? So, in conclusion, I'm going to land this plane. Somebody loves to do the thing you hate to do. And the idea that you have to do it because you're the owner, or you have to do it because it's the worst and it's your job to handle all the worst stuff. Nope. You may have to get really creative. You might have to, again, it may take some time to find the right partner. It may take some time to identify the right vendors and contractors that are going to get you what you need at the price you need it and the quality you need it, all those things, right? I'm not saying it's not going to be some work. But just like, we talk about delegating all the time. Delegation is about the multiplier effect. It is not about how to get the first one, because the first one always costs too much. The time involved in training and in documenting and all the things you need to do to get someone else to do it the first time is terrible. Quit. If you only ever needed it done once, just forget about it. But if this is going to have to happen more than one time, or it's something you just don't have the expertise for, that is an investment on the front end in something that is going to get you a ton of benefit down the road. It is going to get you a ton of benefit once you say, I don't have to do this thing I hate. If for no other reason, then you just don't have to wake up and say, today I've got to do the thing that I hate doing. Man, it's liberating to be able to say, that thing's going to get done and I didn't have to touch it. Okay? That can be real. So, one, acknowledge that someone else might like the thing you detest. And two, get creative with how you approach delegating that work. And if you would like to talk about how that could work, feel free to go to geoffwelch.com/discovery. I'd love to set up a conversation with you, share some creative ideas, dig into what you're working on, where you're at, and try to find some solutions for you. They exist, I promise. Okay? So, additionally, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling stuck, you're feeling like you spend a lot of time doing things you hate, man, I get it. Been there. A lot of us have experienced that exact same thing. We're experiencing it now. If that's the case, grab my anti-overwhelm playbook today. geoffwelch.com/playbook. It's going to help you take practical steps, again, today, to change that. Practical steps to change your relationship with your business, to change your relationship with the amount of work coming at you, to change your relationship with how you think about where you fit. And it's going to change now, right? It's a quick read, super punchy, super actionable. It's going to give you something that you can take and use today. Okay? So don't forget, you don't have to do it all yourself. You don't have to do all of the things you hate. There are people who love it. And of course, please don't forget, your business is not your boss.